And so now I can start to think about the spout. And so I have a template here that was made by folding a sheet of paper in half, sort of holding it on the far side of the pot from me and kind of, moving it around, trying to figure out what would be a good profile. And so this one, again, can be sort of manipulated to fit the piece, made longer or shorter. Maybe I can make it slightly longer. So I'll use this ruler to add maybe 1/2 inch. And then cut as I trace around. And this one again is going to be made with, the spout will have 2 parts. Another piece of slab that closes the top. And then I'm going to partially close the opening of the pitcher as well. Okay, so first thing, I just want to, again, just kind of soften this edge. So this will be the pouring edge. So I'm gonna use this dowel to put a little edge on here, on either side. And I'm basically just doing that from the edge of what's going to be the pouring end of the spout and to the down to the bottom corner here. Okay, and so once that's ready, I'm going to cut some bevels on these edges where it's going to be joined. And then maybe try to bend this a little bit more. These won't quite be right angles, but just to make it a little steeper angle than it is at this point. And then take a look at how it's going to match up with the pitcher. So you can see how it's a little closer in, but fairly broad. So once that is sort of find the center point here, I'm going to just trace around so I'll know where the attachment is going to happen. And then, again, I'm going to cut, I want to leave 1/4 inch or so all the way around, but then cut out most, the rest of the interior. And I'm going to leave a little bit up here too, maybe slightly more than around the sides. And I feel like leaving this rim intact kind of keeps some of the structure of the piece as it dries and as it is fired. So just try to follow this line, inside this line with the knife. And try to make it as symmetrical as possible. And then I'm just gonna kind of soften these corners a little bit just by beveling both the inside and the outside, just to take the barbs away that were left there from cutting it. Okay, so scoring, slipping, and I'll score the edges of this. So this kind of comes up above the rim of the pitcher a little bit. And I just want to take a minute to be sure this is in the right place. And the slip is kind of keeping it tacked on even though it's not really connected yet. And then I'm just going to go around supporting a little bit from the inside. Because once that wall is cut out inside there, it's a little more fragile. So I want to be sure that I've got some counter pressure on the outside, or on the inside. And then seal up the edge and take away any extra scoring marks or slip. And then I can come back and sort of rework this edge a little bit once it's on, just in case it got bumped a little bit. And so again, like the others, I do want to have, I want to address the pouring edge kind of similarly to what you would do if you were pulling a spout from a thrown piece. So I just want to wet this and kind of support on the ends and start to stretch this down and out. And again, kind of towards a little, so the edge goes towards horizontal, and so it's sharp and can nicely cut the pour. Okay, so the majority of the spout's on, and the thing I find with this shape is that because it's pouring out of the wide side of the square as opposed to a corner, sometimes the pour can be a little overly excited and come out the top of the pitcher as well. So I want to close that slightly, and so this is a little strip of a thrown ring used from something else, and I just want to slightly close this. So I want to get a sense of the length that it needs to be. Maybe I'm going to thin it slightly, get a little slight curve on it so it kind of fits the contour of the wall, and then try to mark, kind of trying to look past it and look at where the wall is, try to mark where it needs to be cut. And I'm going to cut it at a little bit of a bevel, because there's a slight bevel in on the rim of the pitcher as well. Just see how this matches up. Okay, so once this is ready, a little bit wider, take off this extra, and then score all the edges. So just once this is sealed up, I can start to make the second part that's going to seal the top of or not seal, but close the top of the spout. And again, I'm just going to kind of mark the shape that it needs to be and mark where the edges are, and then cut this out. And then I will also bevel these edges on the sides where it's going to be attached. And then again, just kind of pinch this to soften it. And I started, the original spouts, slab spouts that I was making were open on the top, and I had one particular coffee pot that I had actually used daily for quite a while, but I was only filling it about halfway full. So one day I was having a sale, and I decided that I was going to make some iced coffee for the people who came to the sale, and I was going to serve it in this pitcher or this coffee pot, and so I made enough to fill it up entirely. And then when I went to pour, luckily this was before any of the customers showed up, the spout came up above the top of the piece, but it wasn't high enough all the way around. So when I went to pour, it actually started pouring over the sides of the spout as opposed to just out of the end. So I realized at that point that had to be dealt with somehow. So then I started closing the tops And what was at the beginning was kind of out of serendipity of sort of figuring out how to solve a problem. It became a way that I felt was kind of a more interesting resolution for the spout anyway, and it just looked a little more finished to me. So henceforth, I have covered the tops of these spout. So I'm just going to take away a little of this, these scoring marks, and then the spout's finished.